All right, we are recording.
Rock and roll, folks. Do we have any new participants, new folks that have just joined for the first time, new to ARES? If you know how to raise your hand, raise your hand. Otherwise, drop it in the chat window. We can look at it there.
I know there are some new people there like Ian.
Call them out then, Rob.
Ian, unmute and say hello, please.
Hey, everybody. Just moved to Carlsbad a couple months ago. But I have had my technician license for maybe 10 or so years up in the San Francisco Bay Area. But because of the situation, kind of dusting things off and getting back on the air.
Very good. Welcome aboard. Any other folks that are new that you spotted there, Rob?
No, nobody that jumps out at me right now.
Perfect. Thank you. Regular announcements that we try to go out and make, obviously, is related to the COVID situation. People are watching all the fun things that are going on from the county of San Diego. It's been kind of an interesting mix. I don't know how many folks have any tie-ins or any info streams from DHS, Department of Health Services, or any of the other affiliated groups, but we're in kind of a weird scenario where it's both a reopening of certain functions, as you guys are all probably, and gals are all probably aware of, but sort of a mixed bag as well. We still have a very significant influx of significant cases. Some of the hospitals that we have in the system are actually going to what they call bypass, which means that they're basically declaring that they are at capacity to be able to handle the folks that they've got in place and provide the health care and necessary services for them that are needed, not just for COVID, but for other related things that are going on, that are just regular things going on in the community. A lot of the traffic from the folks in the South Bay area, as you guys and gals probably already know as well, is much like Imperial. Some of that's being shifted north. We don't know how long that's going to be sustainable. The forecast, candidly, was that by the end of August, we were expected to go out and hit a peak where there wouldn't be any capacity left in the system again if the numbers from about 30 days ago were the continued trend. Obviously, we're not on that trajectory right now. The trend is much more significant from a projection perspective than it was 30 days back. So here we go with all of the fun things that we're trying to do to stay healthy and stay safe. Please continue to go out and practice all of the protective things that you can for yourselves and your families. We don't know that there's going to be any need for areas as far as call out or emergency fill-in, if you will, or backup, but I would go so far as to say that this is pretty much a normal situation. We should be on standby regardless of what's going on around us. We should be able to know what our home, mobile, and other portable operating capacities are. We should be regularly exercising our equipment. This weekend is going to be a really good opportunity for that on VHF and up. And we should basically have all the supplies and things that we need to go out and shelter in place for at least a short period of time. Compounding all the fun stuff going on, if everybody's been watching the shake maps and the things like that, we've had some interesting seismic activity as well. And of course, now we're kind of early, sadly, much earlier in the fire season than we would have expected. So I would ask that everybody, again, practice all of the regular things that you should be doing. Go down your checklist that I hope that you've made. Make sure, again, you've got supplies, you've got fuel, you know what your battery capabilities are. Can you operate off-grid? Can you operate mobile for a period of time? And effectively, I think if anything becomes a call-out, it's going to be a call-out more from our homes in relaying local traffic from around our areas and perhaps our residences through some network that we may have to establish ad hoc or in some sense of immediacy. There doesn't seem to be any significant reason or need to go out and do any call-outs for the hospitals. But then again, any kind of communication breakdown or other issue could happen. So obviously we want to be on standby for that. Any questions related to just general status situation and where we're at in the community? And I know that was a super high level overview, but I'm sure everybody else is kind of keeping abreast of what's going on. All right. For the event today, the VHF event, Rob has already sent information out. It's kind of similar to the rallies that we've been conducting practice, and it will start at 11 o'clock local time for us, run till 8 o'clock tomorrow evening on Sunday. The purpose absolutely is to go out and exercise your gear, and certainly absolutely 100% to have fun. And it absolutely gives us the opportunity to get out there and see what the gear can do. And this is going to sound odd, but I keep saying that the conditions, especially on 2 meters and UHF on 440, will change throughout the day. They will absolutely change from the morning hours until the late afternoon hours. And typically for 2 meters, the best opportunities you're going to have are probably winding up right now locally. If there's going to be any enhancement that happens because of any inversion layers or any atmospheric or weather-related conditions, they're typically wrapped up by about 11 o'clock. So we're going to be beyond that for this morning, but tomorrow morning, it probably wouldn't be unusual at all, just on simplex, even on FM, to be able to work all the way up possibly into Santa Barbara. Not unusual at all. And you'll notice that as the day winds on, the same stations that you might have been hearing or working or being able to operate with are probably going to fade away. UHF typically is a little more resilient than that. So if you're on 440, you'll probably find that conditions throughout the day are fairly stable until about 3 or 4 o'clock local time for us. The last time that we had one of the rallies, actually it was 2 rallies back, conditions were actually pretty good until about 6 o'clock in the evening, which was much of a surprise. But I would encourage folks getting out there and playing. For those that did anything digital, WSJT as an example, and you've got your radio set up and configured, if you've been on 6 meters over the last week, it's been incredibly wacky. I don't really know how else to describe it without getting into all the technical fun terms that go along with the description of the propagation, but it's been very interesting and very frustrating at the same time. If you're at home and you've got a vertical antenna and you've got your WSJT software set up, or even a dipole, and you've got a tuner that'll tune your wire to 6 meters, there's a really good chance you're going to work a lot of folks. For folks that have a gain vertical antenna, same thing. If you've got the ability to go out and do anything on vertical, I would be flipping between the 2 antennas. You're going to find stations you can work on one and not the other. As far as folks that might have a directional antenna for any of the bands, 6 meters in particular, I will give you a little advice. This last week has, as mentioned, been a little wacky for propagation. And if you're playing in WSJT and you're looking at the reference in the lower left-hand corner where you've clicked on someone that you want to work, and it provides that handy beam heading, so you kind of know where you want to point your antenna, I'm going to tell you to not trust that 100%. The propagation has been what they call scatter related or scatter type. And what that effectively means is that you're not going to be pointed at someone on a beam heading that's always going to be on the beam heading. Over the last week, I've actually been 50, 60, and 70 degrees off people. In fact, there have been cases where I've worked folks in Texas by pointing north, and if I point directly at them, I'm unable to work them. So I would be expecting that as an outcome over the weekend. It's been incredibly strange for how things work. Yesterday, as an example, it opened up a little bit to Southern California. We had a couple of folks that managed to work China, and they had, yes, bigger stations, of course. Several folks were able to go out and work Japan. A handful of folks were able to go out and work Hawaii. So I would be on the lookout for that. It was open in the South America. Now, if you're in the Midwest and the East Coast, they've pretty much been working Europe all week. And again, this is digital. So if you're on FM, you're not going to have this happen for you unless we have something incredible go on. I wouldn't expect that. If you're on voice or phone for sideband, the conditions have been good enough for a lot of phone-related activity, but it's not probably going to be as good as what you're going to find on digital when the conditions start changing. So my recommendation is See what the signals look like if you're running WSJT. If you start seeing numbers that are getting close to zero, so instead of it being -20, -15, -10, you start seeing them approach close to zero, I would try to jump on phone or voice and see what you could work there, because it's far more effective as far as a speed and timing perspective, rather than take the time it takes for a WSJT contact to occur. You can complete a QSO much more rapidly on phone. Everybody should know that. For the event today, if you're going to be playing on digital, here's what you need to do. In the configuration box that I showed you guys when we did that presentation, you should be, for today at 11 o'clock, checking the box that says North America VH Contest. And here's what's going to happen when you do that. Instead of having 6 things to go out and work through, you only will have 4. What you're doing is you're reducing the entire QSO time on digital from 1.5 minutes to complete a full QSO with someone to 1 minute if you're running FTA. You're dropping the signal exchange portions of the contact is what's happening. So all you're doing is exchanging your call signs, your grid squares, and saying we're done. No longer waiting for your signal reports from either side, and you're taking, like I said, you're taking a full 30 seconds off of that. So the exchange happens much quicker. The only other tip that I would give you, and there's no way of telling how it's going to play out, but on 6 meters in particular, if it indeed is open, if it indeed is very open and very busy, if you've got a band scope on your radio and you suddenly start seeing little pyramids or spikes, or you start seeing things happening to the right of your WSJT FT8 signal, that's a good indicator that people might be on FT4. And FT4 is much quicker than FT8 as far as getting that entire exchange done and that QSO done at the sacrifice of some signal sensitivity. So if the band is really open, I would encourage people to get away from the busy stuff on FT8 where it's very congested and try FT4 just to go out and work through that. For field day, we're still talking about what we're going to do as a group, and obviously a couple of weeks down the road from now, we don't know what conditions are going to be like for HF. We've had some interesting solar activity that might enhance, and it might actually detract from where we are in 2 weeks. We'll have to find out when we get closer, but we're still talking about what the plan will be for either a unified ARES effort or what encouragement we're going to provide people to go out and do various different things. Obviously, since they changed the rules and let folks from home be able to work each other from home, I think that's got good and bad ramifications to it, but certainly it's going to give them the opportunity to get on the air and try to do something, because other folks are probably not going to be in the field as much as field day is supposed to be, for obvious reasons. So be looking for additional information on that. We will have updates probably in the next 3 or 4 days about what the game plan is. Candidly, I want to huddle with Rob and with Dave and a few other folks. And if you've got some thoughts or suggestions on how to conduct field day, we're certainly open to that. I would circulate that on the reflector, and if you're uncomfortable doing that in general, just send something to Rob, myself, Dave, and we will certainly go out and give it some consideration and weigh that into what the plans might be that we're going to promote or propose for folks. Any questions? Okay. County of San Diego and badging and things like that. We are still kind of in an interesting hold pattern. What we've been doing is we've effectively been giving the County of San Diego the thumbs up that people that already have badges are still active members if they are still active members, and the county is keeping that badge alive. I don't know whether or not anyone from the county has reached out or tried to contact anyone directly, but we have been on a monthly basis, roughly, providing updates to verify that the folks that have received badges to date, even though they may show as expired on the badge itself, are still in the program. And as I'm sure everybody knows, County of San Diego right now is completely overwhelmed with other things. Getting new badges and getting other things reset up and getting new folks onboarded, not a huge priority right now. And we don't expect that to be a challenge. If we get called out, we will make other arrangements to ensure that we've got access to be able to pull things off as we need to or participate as we're being asked. Any questions on that? All right, I would go back to Dave, look for section announcements. We can then go to Rob and look for anything related to training or other new events in the area. Back to you, Dave.
All right, just a couple quick things here this morning. The new volunteer monitoring program is up and active. They've gone after a couple that they're looking at, but on the bright side of that, they've also added some good operator rewards. And one was to a 13-year-old in North Carolina for operating CW on Youth on the Air special event. And there was another 14-year-old in Wyoming operating sideband. So they're getting some good things out there to some newer people, as well as to some veteran operators as well. I think you covered most of the major changes for field day. Some other things we need to look at doing, maybe as a group, we can get together with that. Rob, what do you have coming up here this morning?
I don't have much to put out. Just I'm looking forward to the VHF contest starting in half an hour. And also one side note, there's a new WinLink form that's coming out that is being tested right now. So a few WinLink people are going to be testing it. It's a way to report shaking in your area. A lot of us have done the USGS website. If you feel it, you send in a report on did you feel it. And there's going to be a WinLink form to supplement that internet reporting. In case of an internet outage, they're going to add a form. So there'll be more coming out on that in the next week or two. That's all for me. Thank you, K6RJF and DM12.
Force of habit. All right, I don't have anything else here really, Bruce. What else did you want to talk about the contest today, and anything we have next Saturday? We can do another one of these for field day if you would like to.
We can certainly give that a shot. Does everybody know that's going to be running WSJT where that North America contest mode checkbox is? Anybody have difficulty finding that? That means you, Jay.
I'll find it now. Let you know.
I'm thinking. So if you go to settings, so configurations on the tab, settings, and then the very right topmost tab where it says advanced, about halfway down on the page, there's a checkbox that says special operating activity. You need to check that box and then check the radio button that says NA VHF Contest. If you don't do that, it'll still be okay. Because what will happen is it'll still work with other people that are out there, but you potentially are going to take longer if you're exchanging with somebody else. So we're trying to go out and make the contacts happen as quickly as possible, as efficiently and effectively as possible, and this shaves off a full 30 seconds of the entire exchange. So instead of being a minute and a half, you're down to 1 minute. Everybody should know how to use the pull down where the mode is, I would hope, and change from FT8 to FT4.
You're fading away, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I stepped in front of my computer. If you don't know where to do the pull down to change your operating mode from FT8 to FT4, just make sure you cross-check that. And if you're manually tuning your radio and you don't have radio control or rig control set up through WSJT, please note that you don't want to be running FT4 on 50.313 as an example. That would be not what you want to do.
Hey, Bruce, a question from the chat room. Is 6 meter FT4 frequency, is that the same as the FT8 frequency, or is FT4 on a different 6 meter frequency?
I'm not telling Pat. Pat can look it up.
It's on the drop-down menu.
I was about to tell you, and then I saw the question was from Pat. So. Come on, everybody laugh. It should be on the drop-down menu, and it's 50.318. So again, please make a note of that. If you're tuning your radio manually, you're going to need to go out and tune your radio to that frequency. If you try to do it through the drop-down and your radio is hooked up, your radio should change frequency automatically, and you're good to go. It's not going to be hard to go out and negotiate that, but it's always worth looking at the screen to make sure that you're in the right place. Otherwise, people are going to chase you off. I really don't have anything else. It might be a good time to get out there a little bit early if you haven't already been out there doing this, and just check to see if your gear's up and running and you're able to go out and make it work. I know I've got quite a bit of things that I had to scramble for. I ended up having all of my plans change, and I was not able to do what I wanted to do that I was told that I was going to be able to do, which is go up on the hill. And Plan B also fell through for an interesting reason, which we'll talk about after the event. So I'm working on Plan C right now. I'm going to be operating from home. So I will not be in a super favorable place. I will be doing the best that I can, as all of us out there I'm sure will be. So I hope that the conditions are going to be interesting and good. I'd love to go out and hear the feedback about interesting contacts that you made and or conditions. There's always fun in telling the tale afterwards, and there almost always, for every operator, is going to be a favorite story to go out and tell about the event. It's always good to hear those and get ideas from other folks after the fact and learn some lessons that perhaps some of us haven't actually had the experience to go out and work through before.
Hey, Bruce, just a quick note on an FT8 that somebody else might have also encountered. You remember when you were doing your presentation the other week, you mentioned, I asked about how come I don't see the 2-meter 440 frequencies on my pull-down menu. They're still not there even after I've done upgrades. So I'm not going to solve it today probably, but I think I'll have to enter the 2-meter 440 frequencies manually in the frequency menu.
And you're on the link public release round? Give me a second. I'm curious about that. So when you open your...
You're fading away, Bruce.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're missed all of that.
Okay. I don't know what's happening. So Rob, in the drop-down box when you select the frequencies, there should be a toolbar or a sliding bar on the right side of that open dialog box that shows the potential frequencies that you're running. Are you able to see that? So next to
Bruce, I'm not in it right now. You're fading out. We can probably talk about this some other time. So, and if I get a solution, I'll put it out to everybody.
Are you guys able to hear me now?
Yeah,
yes.
Now it's good.
My guess is the noise canceling features in my highly fanned environment where I'm blowing lots of air through my room, maybe trying to mute me. In the pull down box, Rob, where the frequency selection is, which is to the left of the wide bar that shows the frequency you're actually on, when you open that up, there should be a sliding bar on the right side of the dialog box that opens up. And I have all of it in mind. I'm not doing anything special. In fact, I just updated from my previous version to the latest version that I downloaded minutes before the meeting, and it's all sitting in there. So I'm not sure what you're seeing or why it would be different, but there is a sliding box there. Maybe if you're not hitting the sliding bar there, you're not seeing everything that would be in the window.
Yeah, I checked the sliding box. I'll look for other solutions, but and I'll tell everybody if I find the answer.
Very good. Anything else, folks? Wrap it up, make it short and sweet. Get everybody ready to go out and play radio today.
All right, I have one question for everybody. I had a conversation with some people at ICOM here a week or so ago. about doing a video presentation on basically what did everybody miss at Dayton this year at Hamvention. The only time that the guy is available would be in a weekend on the afternoon. So what do people think about having a Zoom meeting at say 4 or 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon? If enough people are in favor of that, I'll set something up. If it's no, we'll try something else.
Okay, and if I might, really quick as well, did he update the previous status, Dave, where he said weekends only? Because I seem to recall an email saying that during the work week might also be available.
It's possible, but we can try either one. Either way, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay, fair enough. So
let's take a vote now quickly. If people could click yes if they'd like to see any kind of Dayton presentation at any time, please click the yes button in your feedback buttons there. A lot of pop-ups, green yes check marks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right.
12 yeses.
Okay, I got about 12 or 13 ones back and forth. Yes, keep them coming if you can do that. That way, the more we can get, it'll be easier to convince them to do a presentation. Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'll see what I can get set up, and we'll come up with a day. It'll be after field day, that's for sure, and we'll come up with something. Bruce, anything else?
that was all we had. Thank you.
No audio
Let's go
again.
to radio.
Very, very strange. That's all I had. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we see we got someone other in chat. Okay, K1CT, I'd like to see the presentation. And what I told him is I would record it and give him the recording after it was done so that he can use it for whatever. So that seemed to help him a little bit. He definitely liked the idea, that's for sure. All right, let's go play radio. I don't have anything else, and we'll probably set something up for next Saturday for field day, sort of a prep for field day to get everybody prepped up for that, and some other ideas that may come up between now and then. Anybody else have anything else or questions or anything?
73 folks. Good luck today.
Yes.
Good meeting.
Have a good time on the radio. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Dave, all the best to you. Stay good, Buckeye. Stay safe.
You too.
Well, hang in there. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Good golly, everybody's bailing. My screen is collapsing.
It'll collapse real quick here as soon as I click this button.
That is true.